Hello, everyone. This is Zach Brooks from World Transplant Athletes. If you have a body with a new part, you are a World Transplant Athlete. You can follow us at World Transplant Athletes on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and your social media platform of choice. We have 18 organ transplant recipients from 11 countries in 6 languages working behind the scenes to make content for you. Today, we're doing a podcast called Friends of World Transplant Athletes to celebrate and support groups anywhere and everywhere that are either led by an organ transplant recipient or have recipients as their primary focus. Today, we're super excited to talk to Tifiro Cook, a 2-time recipient and founder of Kidney Care Coaches, their tagline, which is really incredible, coaching today for better outcomes tomorrow. So, Tifiro, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Zach. Thank you guys at World Transplant for having me. I appreciate this.
Yeah, you're welcome. So before we started, you told me a really interesting story about your name. And so maybe you can share that. So you can share about the spelling and so forth,
Yeah.
but meaning behind it and the way your name came to be, I think is pretty exciting. So why don't you tell everyone about your name, Tafaro?
Yeah. My name is Tifiro. The name is spelled in the African pronunciation with Tifi. So the I's sound like A's, but they're pronounced with I's, spelled with I's, I should say. So my dad was running track at Ohio State University, and he had a Swahili class, and the guys in the Swahili class, he told them about my mom being pregnant. I was the youngest of 5, and they told him about it. We should have a naming ceremony. So they came up with this big naming ceremony, and how they do it is they go on the weather, politics, and what's going on in the world and everything. And they came up with my name, Tafaro, and it means to conquer insurmountable obstacles. So I was named after a guy from Kenya who climbed the second highest mountain in the world, and his name was Tafaro. It was a long middle name, but my mom wasn't having that. She was like, "No, this is enough." So that's how I got my name.
So
It's pretty.
this guy who climbed that mountain, he was blind. Is that what you were telling me
He was
before?
blind. He was a blind African. Yeah,
And he climbed the second highest peak of all of Africa, which is really
of all of
impressive.
Africa.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, wow, how prescient, right? To have your name. What does it mean, overcoming?
to overcome insurmountable obstacles.
Yeah, and then at some point in life, you were given some pretty big
Yeah,
obstacles. So nice naming there from those cool Swahili guys. So
right, right.
maybe you can tell everyone a little bit about where you're from, and maybe you've traveled a little bit at this point of your life. But where are you from?
So I'm from Columbus, Ohio, and then right from Columbus, I was a pretty good athlete, man. I played football and basketball. Had opportunities in both sports to play college, but I chose to play college football. And so I went out to a small school in San Jose area near Salinas, California, called Hartnell College, and I was playing football out there. First year, 2-a-day practices, everybody's losing weight and things like that, and I'm swelling up. Couldn't understand why. Yeah, and so one day running down the field, gassers, I just stopped in the middle of the field because the coach came out screaming at me and everything, but I could feel my heart in my helmet, so I knew something wasn't right. So they take me to this, and at the time I was 235 pounds. I was just 18 years old, and they took me to a pediatric hospital. And this big football players walking in with these kids, and because I was still pediatric at the time, and they took my blood pressure, and it was 215 over 105. And that was like really, they couldn't understand what was going on. So they looked at my lower legs and everything. They saw they were ballooned up. And the first thing the doctor says, I never forget, he goes, "Do you have any kidney problems?" I'm like,
Hmm.
"I'm here to play football. I don't even know. I know I have kidneys, but that's all." So
Yeah.
they did a biopsy on my kidneys, found out that I had glomerulonephritis. I played that year and I played the following year. After that, my creatinine and everything started just exploding. So I couldn't play football anymore. So I came back home to Ohio and I received my first kidney transplant in 93 from my sister over the Christmas break. It lasted till 96. From 1996 to '07, I was on peritoneal dialysis and hemodialysis.
Wow.
During that time, I became a fitness trainer at the YMCA, and I was the athletic director there. Then my buddy and I, we opened up our own fitness studio during that time. And so what I was doing hemodialysis. I would come home from my dialysis, go to my studio and train people and everything, train athletes, bodybuilders, power lifters, all types of people. And I thought to myself, this exercise was helping me so much. Why not translate it over to the dialysis centers? So what I started doing, I would leave my studio with a bucket full of bands and small 5 pound, 10 pound weights, bring them to the dialysis center, and have people start exercising in the lobby. The dialysis patients. The dialysis patients, when I first started, I would set up these little weights and they would look at me like I was crazy. They was like, I'm not here to do no weights. I'm here to do my treatment. And
Hmm.
after a while, I kind of convinced them. I said, just take this, just do this, do that. And the next thing you know, man, about 2 weeks later, I had the whole place in there just ready to exercise. I had the nurses wanting to be my clients, and they would look for me with these weights every morning. I would come to dialysis. They were like ready to go. It started working for people. People started their morale got better. They got happier, and some of them got stronger and everything. Man, it was amazing. And so the doctor came in one day and was like, how is everybody's labs looking better? And they were like, well, he's bringing weight in the lobby. And mind you, at this
Yeah.
time, I didn't even ask anybody. You know how you got to. I was like, I'm not asking nobody. I'm just going to bring these weights in here at 5 o'clock in the morning and just start having people exercise. And so I would, like I said, I would have them exercise before, and then the next group would come in. I get off my dialysis, and I still be a little tired, and I had to go to my gym and train my clients. But I had a little time, I still would just show them some exercises to do too, and things like that. So
Hmm.
they got a wind of it, and then my doctor started having me speak at different dialysis centers and different hospitals. Right after that, he was like, "Man, what made you do this?" I was like, "I think it started helping me." So
Yeah.
and probably now they wouldn't let you do anything like that with HIPAA and things like that. But I just took it upon myself, like I'm just gonna bring these weights and start helping people. So
Wow, that's a remarkable story, Tifiro. Thanks for sharing that. So I'll go back to the question a little bit. So you from Ohio went to California for a couple of years, then come back to Ohio.
yeah,
Now I know you're now in Florida. Is that right?
yeah. So after my second transplant at Johns Hopkins University, where world-renowned doctor, Dr. Robert Montgomery, I don't know if you know him. He just had a heart transplant, but he's a world-renowned transplant surgeon. He and National Geographic found out about who I was and what I was doing throughout the city, and they did a documentary on me. And they did a documentary on our six incompatible transplant swap. It was the sixth one that was ever done in the world, and it was on National Geographic. It was an hour long. It's on our website. You can go to kidneycarecoaches.com, and you can see the whole hour long documentary. Takes me through all the things I had to do. I just want to tell people I'm the world record holder at Johns Hopkins University of doing the most plasmapheresis. I did 55 treatments, and they still call me and tell me no one's ever beat that many treatments yet.
Okay.
So I was in the hospital for close to 60 days at that time getting that kidney.
Wow.
And yeah, it was a long time, man. It was a long time. It was like I was living up there at Johns Hopkins University, but
Yeah.
made it happen, and I'm doing great. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, thanks for sharing. That's just an incredible story. So it sounds like you've had two transplants. The first was
Yep.
1993 from your sister, lasted 3 years. And you got
Hmm.
your second one around 2007. Is that what it
Yep.
is?
2007.
Yeah.
Correct.
So this, I think it started around that time, like you were saying, this idea that there was a lot of people who were willing to give, but they couldn't give to their spouses or
Right.
significant others or something because they weren't matches. But if you could match that person willing to give with someone else, then you could set up a little group of people and more
Hmm.
people could receive, in this case, kidneys quicker than they could have otherwise. So it really is a huge thing. And you were part of this first
Yeah.
generation.
My donor was a family friend that I was personal training. I personal trained her son for athletics, her husband, and her. One day she comes into the gym and I'm getting her, getting her schedule ready to start working out, and she goes, "Tafaro, I got this dream last night that I'm supposed to give you a kidney." And I'm looking at her like, what? I was like, come on, let's work out. I didn't really think nothing of it. She was serious. The next day she came in, she said, "I'm supposed to give you a kidney." And I thought I kind of knew everything about what was going on. And she said, "Well," I said, "you can't give me a kidney because I have high antibodies." That's what I thought. I said, it's going to have to be something a little different. And she found out about John Hopkins incompatible transplant
Okay.
swaps. She
Wow.
found out of it. She went online, and you can't tell some black women no, because she was adamant about it, man. She was like, "I'm finding out what's going on."
Okay.
So it was a 4-year process of just getting in their group where I had to stay real compliant for 4 years and everything. And her and I would fly up there, give blood and things like that. Her name is Jacqueline Downey, man. She's a sweetheart. And
Thank you, Jacqueline.
yeah, thank you, Jacqueline. Yeah, she's doing well too. And anyway, she gave her kidney to a gentleman named John, and he lived in Napa. And Liz, his wife, gave me the kidney. Another gentleman named Luke from Denver gave his kidney to another young lady from DC. And that's how the swap happened. So when I'm
Wow.
in California, I go see Liz. When I'm in Columbus, I go see Jackie, because they're my saviors for sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, the things you shared, the last sort of questions remind me of two things. One is the exercise you did within the dialysis clinic. There's only one thing I've come across. I think it's in Argentina, at a pediatric clinic where the kids, young kids who are on dialysis for whatever reason, are doing some form of exercise. Sounds similar to what you've done. So really remarkable you did that. So thanks for sharing that. Just incredible
Yeah.
story. And the second, I think you're the second person I've ever talked to. I think the other guy's in LA. I need to double check, who said his donor walked into his place of business one day, and they're good friends, and said that she had a dream. And so it's pretty interesting to hear a few patterns now after a couple of years of interviewing people, where you're like, wow, it's really remarkable that someone could have a dream, and that
Hmm.
would lead to your new transplant. I mean, a couple of years later, it's still really remarkable. So thanks for sharing
Right.
that. So the
Thank
thing I wanted to get to, and the kind of the heart of this podcast, but you kind of prepped it really well, is tell us about your organization, and how long have you been doing it?
you. Okay. Well, 1 out of 7 people have high blood pressure and diabetes, and they're the two leading causes of kidney failure. I started this business in 2020 when I moved to Tampa, Florida, and that's where I am right now with my wife. She's a nurse practitioner, and our small daughter. So I started this business, and it's called Kidney Care Coaches. We have 3 services. We have group sessions, one-on-one coaching, and a membership site as well. And so what we do is we coach you weekly, opposed to just having one class. We customize our coaching to what your needs are. Whatever you need, we focus on you with your nutrition, your exercise, and your coping mechanisms, and how to take the medications and to empower you. So when you do go to the doctor, you're asking the proper questions and you're getting the proper knowledge that you need to get for
Mm,
yourself, not just a overall, okay, this big umbrella. We break it down into the terms of, what do you need, what is going on with you. Even though sometimes you get a umbrella answer, everybody's a la carte. You could line up 20 people who have transplants and something is totally different about each one. And
mhm.
that's what we do. We focus on coaching them weekly so it can get ingrained. And that's what I am. I consider myself a coach. And we coaching today for better outcomes tomorrow. A lot of times I've been in these classes and I've taught classes for the last 15 years with pediatrics, where you would teach just an overall class, and then people come back and they won't understand the knowledge. So our goal is to ingrain that in knowledge in you so you can be empowered. That's our biggest thing. That's what we do.
Well, so this is just to just to clarify, this is for people who are on dialysis waiting for a kidney transplant. Those are the people you coach.
We coach those people, but we also coach people from stage 3 too to get them back to stage 2. And we so our goal is stage 3 to 5. So even if you're not on dialysis,
Mhm.
we want to help you with your nutrition. We want to help you with those things so we can try to reverse the kidney disease or keep it stable. That's our goal as well.
So
So we
let's
just
Yeah,
go
let's
ahead.
go back a little bit. So can you walk people through the stages if they've never heard of this before? So it
Yes.
sounds like it's people who are not yet on dialysis, people who are on dialysis. So there's two groups of people that you'll
Yep.
look at, and these are people who are going to have some kidney problems that are going to necessitate some sort of transplant later. But walk people through those two groups and what those stages are, in case they haven't
Okay.
heard these things before.
Right. So stage 3 is when okay, stage 1 is you have a mild little damage. Stage 2 is when you have it's a little bit more severe, but it's not enough to cause you any problems yet. But if you keep on doing the things you're doing, you can collapse into stage 3. Stage 3A and stage 3B is where we like to get the person where we can be like, look, now you're in some challenges and we want to help you reverse this or get it stable.
Hmm.
That's where we are. Once you get to stage 4, that's when it can get we have to be a little bit more aggressive with your nutrition, your coping mechanisms and things like that, and being mindful that you are going to see a doctor at that time. And then we want to talk to the doctor too, so we can be on the same page. The coach and the doctor can be on the same page, because what
Hmm.
we tend to find out is a lot of times the doctors don't have time to give you the information. They can just tell you what's going on, but they're
Hmm.
busy. So they can't coach you all the way through the stages. So if you're at that 4 stage, that 3 stage, that's when the coaching is severe. And that's when you need to be paying attention to what's going on with your health. And it's at that time. So you don't go into stage 5, which is kidney dialysis. Now,
Hmm.
those that are on dialysis, we work with them as well to stay as healthy as possible and make sure they're compliant so they can get a kidney transplant.
Yeah.
And that's our goal with them. And we work with them also to get their story out too, so they can be known and telling them the proper ways to get the story out, the proper way to get in touch with the transplant units and the hospitals and things like that as well. Because we have people that at each stage, I've just worked with a gentleman. He was in stage 5. He just got a kidney transplant. Now we're getting him healthy
Yeah.
on the other end. So and then we have people who are in stage 3 right now, and they just gave me a recommendation because they're back in stage 2. So we're reversing it. But I believe it's the
Mhm.
coaching, and it has to be the empowerment, and
Yeah.
it has to be a consistent coach. If you ever been coached before, you just didn't get one time somebody told you something and that was it. Your
Yeah.
coach was drilling you all the time about what was going on. I play football, and our coach will be like, run the play again, run the play again, run the play again. It was automatic. And that's what we do when we coach them weekly, where it's automatic. They know what to eat. They know what the questions to ask their doctor. They
Mhm.
know how to take care of themselves because it's ingrained in them. It's just it's automatic.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's gosh, what you're doing is just phenomenal. In terms of the coaching, I mean, I think the number is, 60 days or so that it takes to change someone's habits.
Mm,
So,
yes.
that's why this consistency is so important, I think, for what you're doing with people. What's also remarkable, World Transplant Athletes, we focus on people once they've had their transplants and making sure they're active afterwards. But you're also, which is really important, and anyone who's been through a transplant knows this, but this is why what you're doing is so important, that it's very critical that when you're being considered for a transplant, because there's a scarcity of organs out there, you
Mhm.
really have to position yourself in a very different way. That's your
That's
mental
right.
health, your physical health, your psychological sort of well-being, your family. And it sounds like you kind of walk through people through a lot of those techniques, those things that they need to know about in order to make themselves better candidates. And once they become a candidate and receive an organ, then that it really improves their next cycle of health. So it sounds like you kind of cover three or four areas. And how would you summarize the three or four areas of health you're covering? Because it sounds like you're doing a lot of it right here.
Yes. So the first areas are, when you're in stage 3 or 4, those stages right there gives us some leniency where we can correct some things, because the majority of those people in those stages are not eating correctly, not exercising. They might be diabetic, they might be high blood pressure, and we could get, and some of them aren't even with a doctor at the time. They just found out, because kidney disease is a silent, and you don't even know that you're going downhill until it's too late.
Hmm.
So some of these guys in that area, we can reverse by just getting you a doctor, and okay, we're getting you better blood pressure ratings. We're getting out of, not saying you're not going to be a diabetic, but getting your A1C better.
Hmm.
Those are the areas. Now, stage 4 is that area where you can go either way, but you better get more aggressive on your nutrition. You better get more aggressive if you have to lose weight. Whatever's going on with your situation, you have to get aggressive with it. And I would like to talk to your doctor so we can work together simultaneously into helping you, because we all need coaches and we all need a team around us when these things happen.
Yeah.
Stage 5, like you said, Zach, stage 5 is the big one where we want to position you in the right area, so when they do look at you, they go, oh, this guy's numbers look good, his phosphorus is looking good, he's going to regular checkups, he's getting dental checkups, she
Hmm.
or he is doing everything they're supposed to be doing, their weight is under control, they look like they can take care of a kidney, and they're coached. Right. They're coached and they understand the assignment. They understand that this is going to be not just getting the kidney, but how do you keep the kidney, and how do you keep flourishing with the kidney? And that's what we do on that end. So we stage them in the proper way, because I just don't want to just have, I'll tell them straight up, I'm not just getting you a kidney just to get a kidney, because I
Yeah.
want it to go to the proper person. And I'm serious about that.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like what you're doing, and it's really important as a part of the cycle. It should be part of the cycle of healthcare for people in this situation is behavior,
Right.
because when you line up, when you become a better, when you become a better patient, that's one way to think about it in those spaces, and your behaviors show as a person who is reliable, who can take care of his or her kidney afterwards, then they're more likely to get the transplant. So, but you're doing a lot of really hard work to get people's behaviors better. I
It's
mean,
challenging. It can be challenging.
well, and, just a lot of folks, they've had habits, and whatever those habits are, but they probably, those habits maybe didn't lead them to get a transplant, because oftentimes this is beyond our control, but they certainly have control over their diet, and that control over the diet can help them feel better now, but actually make them more attractive as a candidate later. So what you're
Exactly.
doing is extremely important. Wow, this is incredible. I don't think I knew all the things that I did, that I know now. So maybe a final question, and you've kind of shared this already, but if you had to summarize the main message for kidney care coaches, what do you think that would be?
We want to coach today because we want those outcomes to be better for tomorrow. That's the goal. So if you have to be coached, if you have to be stood on, or whatever you want to call it, we know that if we can coach you right now, your outcomes are going to be so much better in the long run. So, bear with us. There's sometimes I have to get I have to, crack the whip on people and tell them, hey man, you're not doing right. You got to do it like this, and get, I'm a cool guy, but when you're coaching, you have to be stern sometimes. So
Mhm.
so we can create those outcomes for later, because it's only for your good. And that's what we believe in. We really believe in sticking to what we truly believe in as far as kidney disease and kidney health awareness.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tifaro. This has just been a really fun conversation. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us today.
We appreciate it, man. Thank you so much, Zach. And thank you,
You're
World
welcome.
Transplant Athletes.
Yeah, thank you. So, everyone, if you have a body with a new part, you are a world transplant athlete. Check us out all over the web. Also, you can follow Tifiro Cook, Kidney Care Coaches, all over the web. If you just type in Kidney Care Coaches, you will find him, learn more about his National Geographic documentary, some of his story, but really the important work he and his team are doing to help people who are not yet at transplant stage get better outcomes. So thank you so much for your good work in this world.
I just want to make one more plug. I'm also have a book coming out called The 10 Dialysis Commandments.
Oh,
10 things you
fantastic.
need to know. Yeah, 10 things you need to know if you want to thrive and survive on dialysis. I was on dialysis for 12 years. I lifted weights. I stayed strong. Like I said, National Geographic's done documentaries on me. Ohio State did a documentary on my fistula. And I talk about this in the book to show people the proper way to take care of your fistula, so because it's your lifeline, it's your access. I show people on dialysis the proper way to eat so you won't have bone problems with phosphorus. I show
Mhm.
all these things, and it's called the 10 Dialysis Commandments. It will be out very early in January.
The 10 Dialysis Commandments by Tifiro
Yep.
Cook. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah,
Awesome.
you're welcome.
All right.
Yep.
Have a good afternoon. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Thank you.